complacencies of the penure, and late coffee and oranges in a sunny chair, and the green freedom of a cockatoo upon a rug mingled to dissipate the holy hush of ancient sacrifice. She dreams a little, and she feels the dark enroachment of that old catastrophe as a calm darkens among water lights. The pungent oranges and bright green wings seem things in some procession of the dead, winding across wide water without sound. The day is like wide water without sound, stilled for the passing of her dreaming feet over the seas, to silent Palestine, dominion of the blood and sepulchre. Why should she give her bounty to the dead? What is divinity if it can only come in silent shadows and in dreams? Shall she not find in comforts of the sun, in pungent fruit and bright green wings, or else in any balm or beauty of the earth, things to be cherished like the thought of heaven? Divinity must live within herself. Passions of rain, or moods in falling snow, grievings in loneliness, or unsubdued elations when the forest blooms, gusty emotions on wet roads on autumn nights, all pleasures and all pains, remembering the bough of summer and the winter branch. These are the measure destined for her soul. Jove in the clouds had his inhuman birth. No mother suckled him, no sweet land gave large-mannered motions to his mythy mind. He moved among us as a muttering king, magnificent, would move among his hinds, until our blood, commingling, virginal, with heaven, brought such requital to desire the very hinds discerned it, in a star. Shall our blood fail, or shall it come to be the blood of paradise? And shall the earth seem all of paradise, that we shall know? The sky will be much friendlier than now, a part of labor and a part of pain, and next in glory to enduring love, not this dividing and indifferent blue. She says, I am content when weakened birds, before they fly, test the reality of misty fields by their sweet questionings. But when the birds are gone, and their warm fields return no more, where, then, is paradise? Is there not any haunt of prophecy, nor any old chimera of the grave? Neither the golden underground, nor isle melodious, where spirits gat them home, nor visionary south, nor cloudy palm remote on heaven's hill, that has endured as April's green endures, or will endure like her remembrance of awakened birds, or her desire for June and evening, tipped by the consummation of the swallow's wings. She says, but in contentment I still feel the need of some imperishable bliss. Death is the mother of beauty, hence from her alone shall come fulfillment to our dreams and our desires. Although she strews the leaves of sure obliteration on our paths, the path sick sorrow took, the many paths where triumph rang its brassy phrase, or love whispered a little out of tenderness. She makes the willows shiver in the sun, for maidens who were wont to sit and gaze upon the grass, relinquished to their feet. She causes boys to pile new plums and pears on disregarded plate. The maidens taste and stray impassioned in the littering leaves. Is there no change of death in paradise? Does ripe fruit never fail? Or do the boughs hang always heavy in that perfect sky, unchanging, yet so like our perishing earth, with rivers like our own that seek for seas they never find, the same receding shores that never touch with inarticulate pang? Why set pear upon those river banks, or spice the shores with odors of the plum? Alas, that they should wear our colors there, the silken weavings of our afternoons, and pick the strings of our insipid lutes. Death is the mother of beauty, mystical, within whose burning bosom we devise our earthly mothers, waiting sleeplessly. Supple and turbulent, a ring of men shall chant in orgy on a summer morn their boisterous devotion to the sun, not as a god, but as a god might be, naked among them, like a savage source. Their chant shall be a chant of paradise, out of their blood, returning to the sky. And in their chant shall enter, voice by voice, the windy lake wherein their Lord delights, the trees like seraphim, and echoing hills, that choir among themselves long afterward. They shall know well the heavenly fellowship of men that perish and of summer morn, and whence they came, and whither they shall go, the dew upon their feet shall manifest. She hears upon that water, without sound, a voice that cries, "The tomb in Palestine is not the porch of spirits lingering, it is the grave of Jesus, where he lay." We live in an old chaos of the sun, or an old dependency of day and night, or island solitude, unsponsored, free of that wide water, inescapable. Deer walk upon our mountains, and the quail whistle about us their spontaneous cries. Sweet berries ripen in the wilderness, and in the isolation of the sky, at evening, casual flocks of pigeons make ambiguous undulations as they sink downward to darkness on extended wings.
An Analysis of Sunday Morning by Wallace Stevens. The title Sunday Morning brings to mind Sunday, the holy day for the Christian Church, and morning, which represents new chances in the sun rising and new birth. The poem begins with a woman on her porch enjoying a late breakfast, when she begins to daydream about a procession of the dead heading towards Palestine, where Christ's tomb is. And from this she wonders if there is truly paradise after death, or if the only paradise she will get is on earth. She has many thoughts about the beauties of nature, and she wonders if anything after death could actually surpass these beauties of nature. The woman begins to wonder why there's death in the first place. She thinks of how birds will leave a field and wonders if the same field is still a paradise after the birds leave, just like as a person would wonder if earth will still be good after they leave. In response, the narrator begins to say that in all there is change, and that even in death there is change, and with death comes new life. Without death, could a place really be paradise? Much like the narrator's opinion to how death always comes, there's a group of men that show up that enjoy life only in the moment, not caring about the past or the future. And from this, the woman comes to peace with the fact that she will die, and whether or not there will be life after death. This poem relies heavily upon light and dark in the figurative language, as light being life and dark being death. However, death is not related to being bad, as to rather it is related to simply an extension of life. Without life, there is no death, and without death, life is meaningless. Much like this, nature acts in the same way in the poem. Nature simply shows how things will advance, changing as they go. There are also many religious references in this poem as well, such as Palestine, where Christ's tomb is, or Jove, the Greek god of the sun, who represents a new day and also new life. These biblical references are important as the woman is having a dilemma on whether or not there is life after death, and how she should live her life based upon this answer. The narrator, on the other hand, states that whether there is life after death or not, everything should be enjoyed as is, as that's how religion would be. The woman has three attitudes throughout the poem. At the beginning, she is contemplative of how things are. In the middle, she's contemplative of how things will be after death. And at the end, she is resolved with how things are and how they will be after death. These attitude shifts also coincide with the shifts in subject as well, being that at the beginning she is wondering whether or not there is life after death. In the middle she wonders why death has to exist, and at the end she finally accepts that death is a simple thing of nature, and just as it is part of nature, she just has to live with the acceptance that death will come. After reading the poem, the title makes more sense in that on this morning, instead of going to church, she decided to stay at her house and contemplate what life was and why religion exists. One major theme I believe exists in the poem is that death exists and it should not be feared, as those who fear death can't enjoy the life they have. Another theme I believe is that people should make choices on what they want to be rather than how the society wants them to be. The men in the pagan group decide to have their chant and don't care about what exists or how the rest of society views them. The people in church believe that Christ will save them and that life after death will be their paradise. This is what the woman comes to believe in that she should follow her own path rather than follow the path that others have set out for her.